Good morning, or should I say wakey wakey, better yet, cockerel doodle do to you, back again for the second time with my good friend, my brother, Ryan. It's been a long time. How are you, buddy?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all things Tottenham pathetic.
Take that out of the equation. How are you
Everything
avoiding
else,
that?
we're good. We're good. But you ready to get going?
I'm always good, mate. Let's go.
Tottenham on tour.
All right. So we've got three topics we are going to cover. And the first one I'm going to speak a lot to Ryan about because obviously Ryan's a season ticket holder, goes to every game. Unfortunately, he was there yesterday to witness that. Now, obviously, everyone's spoken about the game, the players, Sanchez, Porro, Stellini, the Levy out chance, everything. But from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of tension and arguing and just rumbling inside the lane at the moment, isn't there? And obviously, you saw quite a bit of it. What was it like where you were yesterday?
It was probably the most toxic I've seen in a very long time. Fans are turning on fans. This is now turning into a complete and utter mess on the pitch, off the pitch, through fans, everything. Everything is going completely into an absolute hellhole. You've got fans moaning at other fans because of their views, whether you're Levy in, Levy out. I can understand you having passionate views for Levy in and passionate views for Levy out. You know, we stand on the Levy out side, we have our passionate views. But the one thing that I saw yesterday from someone who was Levy in is something that I have never seen one of us lot ever do. He has
Tell us more.
This person grabbed the flag from someone holding it and then pushed them and started giving them verbal abuse because they were holding a flag that had "Today is today" on.
And was this happening right at the top where you normally are?
This was happening. Well, this happened halfway down, so it wasn't like no one could see it. There were many people that could see it. There were stewards that could see it. Did anyone intervene? No. And the person who was holding the flag, fair play. They stood their ground. They said their piece. Other people that were around were silent. I think it was more the fact of people were, which, let's be real. We've always said it. If an argument's happening between two people, you'd leave it to happen between two people.
Yep.
That you could see from the people that were standing around me and everywhere else, everyone was watching it rather than watching the game because it was a matter of, well, if one thing.
What was the score at this time, Ryan?
Hmm?
What was the score at this time when this was all kicking off?
I think this was 2-1 Bournemouth.
Okay.
Now, you're sitting there and, everyone was sitting there watching because it was a moment of, well, if this goes too far, then that's when people, especially the people that I know that I sit around, it's a matter of if it goes too far, you're going to intervene, you're going to pull people apart. But it never got to that point, which, at any point it could have, but it didn't, luckily. Yet again, the atmosphere within the ground away from that issue, the atmosphere was terrible. It was flat again. But then, as I've said multiple times on here and on Tottenham Hall, you will not be able to generate an atmosphere when the football is that shit.
You're right.
You can't. You physically can't do it. Why? And this is what annoys me when people sit there, especially the ones that don't go to football. And they go, oh, the atmosphere inside the ground, you can hear on TV is flat, fans should be making it better. You're going, okay, rather than sitting on your armchair watching it, how about you come to ground and you try and make an atmosphere and you see what people's reaction are when you try to make an atmosphere like we do when we're all together.
Yep.
And people sit there and look at you to say, what are you doing? We're losing. They give you that look. You'll know the look because you go to games.
Yep.
You know that look you get from people.
Most certainly.
And it's like, what more can us as fans do when we try to create an atmosphere? But then all of a sudden, we're being told by a certain look of, what are you doing? How can you be sitting there trying to pin shout, come on, you Spurs, when we're 2-1 down and we're sitting there and defending? So there's a constant battle. And then on top of that, there is something that I never personally saw it, but I heard about it, which I am actually lost for words, and we all know that I don't get lost for words.
No, you most certainly do not.
Someone I heard went to a steward and complained to the steward because someone in their seat was swearing at a football game.
Yep.
The steward took their seat number, their block number, and their row and reported it to the club.
Yep. I mean, this has gone all across Twitter. How can you be at a football match? And listen, even with kids around, when kids are near me, I obviously, as hard as I can, try not to swear, but it's a very, very emotional and raw experience at a football match. And when things happen, you obviously react and shout and scream and say what you want. There's always been swearing at football. It's something you just can't avoid and help. And
No.
the fact, I mean, I don't know, Ryan, would you say that person, the steward, has taken that name, number, seat, or not name, but seat, row, number, just to show they're doing something to the person that reported it?
I personally would like to think so. I'm hoping so. And I'm thinking that our club is not going in a direction where we are becoming PC police and that we're trying to remove the foundations of which football fans have been brought up on. You know, I always remember from being a little kid all the way up, I was told by my dad, don't swear. Then when I got old enough, it was, you can do it at football.
Yep.
But as soon as we leave, you don't say anything.
Yep.
You're going to hear words you can't repeat.
Yep.
Never done me any wrong.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, but I will live by this and I will die by this. If you are taking a child to football, you have got to expect that child to hear language that it may or may not have heard before. Which I'm going to guarantee that most children have probably heard more language than the parents have heard, being in the school playground.
You know what? You're right with this, but I want to very quickly go back to what you said about the atmosphere being flat. Do you know, it's not just inside the stadium. Obviously, people know I protest every single home game outside the club shop. Whenever I'm in this country, I am there. And do you know what? Even outside the ground now, it's different when Arsenal are coming into town or whatever, especially last season when I was in Canada and there was the 3-0 win and it was just scenes everywhere. But once I've been protesting outside that stadium this season, you can hear a pin drop. It is so quiet walking. I'll tell you how quiet it was. When Aston Villa scored their goals against Newcastle, you could hear the cheers from inside in the south stand where they're by the goal line bar, watching that clearly over what was going on in the street. And once we're packing all the banners up ready for game time, there's people walking into the ground. It's like you're in a cinema and the movie's just come on. It's just silent. And one of the things I think with the south stand, the wall of noise, is if I had been on the board, if I'd been on the board, who knows what had happened. But if I'd been on the board, the first thing I would have done is said to the very, very noisy part of the shelf side and the corner of the park lane, you guys, first choice in there. In there you go, straight away. You're the noise. Do you put them all together? There are pockets all over the place in this stadium Then obviously you've got in the south stand the safe standing at the front to generate a better atmosphere, the big load at the back to generate atmosphere, and then corporate. Right across the middle.
Brian, we've had the discussion many times.
Yep.
He killed the ground as soon as he put 1882 smack bang through the middle of the south stand.
Yep.
I'm not saying you can't have it. By all means, have it. You know, you want to make money, extra money, crack on. But don't sit there and tell us when we have this stadium built that we're building a 17,000 seater stand to be the white noise of White Hart Lane.
Yep.
And then come out afterwards and go, actually, we're putting corporate straight for the middle of it. Because anyone that's ever sat in a corporate seat at any event knows there is no atmosphere generated by corporate.
Correct.
It is that simple. I am not saying for 1 minute, don't get me wrong, I am not saying for 1 minute that there's people that pay the 1882 price that don't sit there and sing.
Oh, of course.
Because they do.
For sure.
But why have we made a section where people are paying extra to sit in the middle of what's supposed to be our main homestand? Do you think Liverpool in the Kop would ever put corporate seats in there?
No.
Because that's where... Could you go imagine going to Dortmund and then putting flipping corporate in the yellow wall?
Well, if they tried to do that now, there'd be anarchy. There'd be, and you got to remember that stadium is not small. There is plenty of places where they could have gone, but again, it's all part of being in that south stand and that iconic stand for the look and the one tier. But we're going to move away from that because we could talk about this for absolutely ages and ages. Next one, and we're going to go in a bit of depth here. What the hell is happening right now? Let's look at this. So we've obviously just lost to Bournemouth.
Where do you start?
Well, that's the thing. Let's just wrap up the last few days. Newcastle lost. We had an opportunity again to close the gap and make a real impact and a real statement for top four. Failed. Then Stellini says it isn't tactical, it's individual errors. But guess what? He'll play the same team against Newcastle, so these players can make the same individual errors. Scott Munn, I think we found, is on gardening leave till July the 1st. So once the season ends and June and the window opens, he can't do anything till the players come back to training.
Mm-hmm.
We've had these issues that we've just discussed. And just another week where a defeat to Bournemouth, the team that's struggling for relegation, has come and just shown they want it more. I mean, that's just in the last few days, mate.
I think that sums out really. Let's be honest here. We've had discussion off camera before. When it was announced with Scott Munn. It's a complete cover-up. We all know it. Anyone that says it's not a cover-up, wake up. That's all I've got to say. Because we all know how much of a control freak Daniel Levy is. If anyone for 1 second is sitting there thinking, watching this now, and still thinking it, wake up. Do you really think that Scott Munn's going to come in and go, okay, I want to sign an £80 million player? Do you really think that Daniel Levy's going to sit there and go, I've got no control over football anymore, so you crack on and do what you want?
Oh, well, you put it that way.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He is still going to have his private little meetings behind camera, away from the world, over the phone, Teams call, whatever it may be. He is still going to sit there and have a conversation and go,
without a doubt,
who do you want to sign? Just for argument's sake, because I know that it's got to a point where I think I can probably say that 90% of the fan base want him. If Poch came back, and by the way, the only reason I want him back is because I think he can keep Kane. And that's the only reason I want him back.
Fair play.
And that's only come in the last couple of days that I've decided, actually, do you know what? We're not getting Nagelsmann, who I want.
Yep.
So if we're not getting him, then you bring in someone that can unite the fan base and can keep Kane. And I think, third of all, play attractive football.
Yep.
And for me, the second person after Nagelsmann is Poch.
Fair play.
And if Poch comes in and Poch goes to Munn and goes, I want to sign £150 million worth of players because I need 2 centre-backs, a creative midfielder and a goalkeeper. Let's just use them ones because they're the 4 positions that I think we do definitely need.
100%.
You really think, or anyone watching this or thinking about it, is sitting there going, yeah, Scott Munn will just walk away now and go, right, £150 million, spend. Just go off and do it on his own? No fucking chance. Not a chance in hell. He'll get that list. He'll then have to go and sit with that little man that no one likes. Well, actually, I say no one likes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that's he will then sit there and go, okay, these are the 4 players that I want. It's going to cost 150 million. He's going to look at it and go, oh, you want Raya? That's going to cost us 40 million. Go back and tell Poch, you need to find a goalkeeper that's 20 million with a sell-on value. Oh, look, you want these 2 centre-backs? Nah, we're only going to spend 15, 20 million on centre-back, and they've got to have value when we sell them on.
Yep.
Oh, if you want Maddison, we're not paying 60 million for Maddison. Go and find a cheap alternative for 30 million. That's the reality.
It is.
There was no sugarcoating for me that that's not going to happen. People can sit there and go, oh, Kern, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking shit. You know, he's clearly coming in to take over the footballing side of things. It's already been said by the club that's what he's doing.
Like it was with Paratici.
If that's what you want to believe. But let's look at Paratici. He was supposed to be the one that had full control over who he signs.
That lasted long, didn't it?
Just remember who employed him.
Yeah.
Just remember who employed him when he knew what he had done at Juventus, whether it was speculation or not.
Rather than getting in, what's his name? Louis Campos. Not Louis Campos. What's his name?
You know what? Even better. How about, for once in his fucking life, he sits there and he admits he's wrong and goes back to Paul Mitchell, one of the best scouts we've ever had, and says, I was wrong. Come back.
Mate, you're about if there's more chance of you winning the lottery without even buying a ticket.
Well, exactly.
We
all know how stubborn he is.
I said if Poch was to come back, if I was Poch, I would say you don't have to sign him back, but if you're going to prove to me that you're legit and you're not going to screw me, publicly apologise to Paul Mitchell to prove. But he won't. But listen, do you know what? The last subject I want to talk about quite a bit. You know what's coming. It's something that's happened within the last half hour, 45 minutes. I'm really happy that Kern is with me to do this because I'm going to play a video very, very shortly from a guy people will know from Facebook. He's got a big, huge Facebook presence. Goes by the name of the Rabbi, who is very leavey out, very outspoken, and for the last couple of weeks has come to the protests. Now, one of his friends was checking Twitter last night or today and saw a tweet and told the Rabbi about this. And this is the kind of levels that I think this club is, or its fan base is sinking to. We were speaking about inside the ground. This is a response to what something was said about the Rabbi. And then Ryan and I are going to talk about it. I'm just going to play this very short video right now.
So this goes out to the man or woman who tweeted that the Rabbi, is anti-Jewish and all the leave the out crowd are anti-Jewish. Listen to me. You got to be the biggest schmuck I have ever. Well, I haven't met you, but you are got to be the biggest schmuck. Why do you think they call me the rabbi? Because I live on the moon. Do you know what I'm saying? Listen to me. Freedom of speech. Half them people who are protesting against that man who does nothing for our football club are Jewish. You absolute fool. What are you? On Levy's payroll? Or David Baddiel? The gooner up the road? Think about it, you absolute mug. Freedom of speech. If we'd done anything wrong, do you think I would have been arrested? There was police there. It was a demonstration, a peaceful demonstration. You absolute schmuck. You schmuck.
Okay, so the rabbi gave me permission to use that video, so thank you to the rabbi. Now, we're going to have to choose our words very carefully here, because obviously we're touching on a very, very sensitive issue. I understand there's a huge divide in this football club at the moment, and a lot of this divide is because of Levy in or Levy not out and Levy out, because people that are Levy in say there's no such thing as Levy in. So let's just say there's people that are Levy out and people that aren't. I understand I'm very outspoken on all the social media platforms I use and channels I go on, and I've been speaking about Levy out for 15 years, but about 2.5, 3 on YouTube. We've been called violent, we've been called thugs, we've been called alcoholics or drunks. I'm a recovering alcoholic, almost 15 years sober. There's a lot of us that don't drink at all. And I understand, even on social media, there's a real big divide and it gets personal with a lot of people. I have a lot, and Ryan knows I have a lot of personal attacks on me, but I never respond. I never retaliate. But if we've come to this part now where people are trying to say Levy out protesters are doing this because they're anti-Semitic and because they're anti-Israel, well, the rabbi is Jewish. I am Jewish. Kern is Jewish. We know a lot of protesters that are Jewish. This has absolutely nothing to do with race or religion. And I can't believe that this accusation and comment has come out. I mean, Ryan, what's it? I mean, what do you feel about this?
I think it's absolute bollocks. You know, what are we dealing with now? Because something doesn't suit someone, we're going to start labelling them things that they're not. I'm sorry, but how do you sit there and how do you label someone who is Jewish anti-Semitic?
Yep.
It's physically impossible, because whether you who are not from a Jewish background, whether or not you sit there and you find something potentially offensive, if it's between two Jewish people, they know what they're talking about. If I sit here and I turn around and say, Brian, you're a schmuck,
Yep.
you know what I'm talking about.
Correct.
So how can you sit there, or how can someone sit there, and because they don't like something, they create a whole agenda to suit their agenda?
Yeah.
Because you don't believe that Daniel Levy is doing anything wrong at this football club, whether you believe it or not. And we turn around and say, well, actually, he's got 23 years nearly of pure failure. He's won one trophy in 23 years. No, that's facts.
Yep.
That is fact. The fact is, we're hitting 23 years and it's one trophy. That is a fact. But to sit there and walk past a protest outside the shop and hear people saying Levy out, to then go and put a tweet on Twitter, to which we don't even know if this person was even there.
Exactly.
That's the main thing here as well. We don't even know if this person who tweeted is there. To sit there and turn around and say the person that calls himself the rabbi is anti-Semitic, when you don't know who they, whether you're walking past or not, whether you're there, whether you're just tweeting this because you want to try and get some followers. As he said, how do you think he got the name?
Exactly.
Didn't just sit there one day and think, actually, do you know what? Sod it. I want to be called the rabbi. That's like me sitting there going, do you know what? From now on, you can call me the priest.
There you go.
That I can understand because I'm not. But to sit there and throw an accusation like that out of nowhere, but not only go for the rabbi, but go for every single person who is Levy out. Now, bear in mind, I go to home games and I go to away games.
Yep, you do.
And I can turn around and say that there has got to be, I reckon, 80, 90% of the people that I go with are all Jewish. And every single one of them, if I turn around and said to them, are you Levy in or Levy out? They'd turn around and say Levy out.
Mate, even if they didn't, they wouldn't turn around and say to you, well, if you are, you're anti-Semitic.
No, exactly.
This is
what's happening with the fan base of our club.
correct.
Because everything is turning hostile now, and because more people are voicing their opinions, whether it's social media or whether it's at home and away games. Bear in mind, when we went up to Everton, the whole away end was singing "We Want Levy Out." Yesterday, at 2-1 down, there was extremely loud noise of "We Want Levy Out."
Yep.
It's interesting that ever since the Levy Out side of things is started picking up, whether people want to believe it or not, ever since it started picking up and it's going up and up and up and up, all of a sudden, everything starts getting turned on its head.
You're right.
There's more shouts now of people saying we're anti-Semitic. There's more shouts of people saying we are hooligans. We're there to cause damage to the club.
Yep. And I have to say as well, at the protest, the police come and sit and talk with us. Never had a single issue with them. They come and talk to us. What you're protesting for? You keep it peaceful. Well done. No issue with the police whatsoever. No violence.
Exactly. But whoever they are that sit behind their computer screens, sit there and tweet and go, another protest, being violent, all this kind of stuff. Now, here's a question for you, Brian.
Go on.
In all the years that you have been protesting,
Yep.
home and away,
Yep.
how many people on the Levy Out protest have ever been arrested?
0.
But
None.
we're violent. We're drunks.
Of course.
We're anti-Semitic.
Exactly.
If that's the case, if that was the case and that was true, which we all know is bollocks, if that was true, we wouldn't be allowed to do what we do.
Like the rabbi said. And that is how we're going to leave that. People just got to absolutely wake up and not make these accusations. Ryan, before we go, my brother, tell everyone where they can find you in your channel.
You can find me and 5 or 6, sometimes maybe even 4, over on at Tottenham Hall. It's a weekly
All
podcast.
one word.
We are normally on a Monday, but this week we'll be on a Tuesday, 7:15. So come along and hear a in-depth analysis from myself and others in regards to the shit show that we saw on Saturday.
Just another day in paradise at the shit show that is Tottenham. Everyone, go and follow Kern and subscribe to the channel, Tottenham all one word. Leave your comments, like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, Levy
Out.
Tottenham on tour.